Welcome back, YouTubers. Jared here. So yeah, as I was saying, they've put a lot of nice detail, and you can fly around, and you can like zoom into things up close because you're in a creature. And they had lots of little touches, like because I'm a fly, I'm not making sound, and you can actually go up high. The controls are a little dodgy, and I don't tend to use possession very often. It's more just for a bit of fun normally. Or if you're trying to snipe out enemy creatures from an area you're not supposed to. But yeah, when you go down to the ground, you can actually walk. And you can hear the pitter-patter of the fly's footprints. And then you can zoom back off again. So yeah, that's the fly for you. A pretty cool little creature. They're by far the weakest, and they're normally ones that sadly, once you've finished all your research, you'll be chucking straight back into the portal to get rid of. So what else shall we do on here while we're waiting for the next prompt to happen? I think we'll dig out the rest of the gold, see if that might be a requirement. I was trying to be reserved, but I don't think there's really a need. Just expand it a little bit. But yeah, if memory serves correct, the only two creatures I'll see in this level of my own are the flies and the beetles. I'm not sure if I get a training room. If I do, I'll build the training room here. Ooh. Use the left mouse button to pluck your creatures. Oh, yes, we've already been playing around with creatures. Use the right mouse button to drop them over a room or a tile belonging to you. Oh yeah, that's something else that's interesting. If you drop them in the tile, it will change their attitude depending on what the tile is. So for instance, if I drop this tile, the fly on the tile, the fly is now sleepy because I dropped it on the bed chamber or on the lair. Same with if I dropped it on the treasury, it would take some of my money. That's basically how this game works. Oh, it's telling me I've got to place this, but I've already done that. Basically that's how this game works. You've got to balance your resource, which is gold, and creatures, as well as like training fees, and there's other things like research that come into play. Oh, we've got the last room, so I'll build a little hatchery here. But yeah, as I was saying, you've got to balance those with trying to keep up with your opponents and eventually defeating them. So, in my opinion, the most difficult opponents are the enemy keepers. They often have some sort of unfair advantage, such as gold that lasts forever. And I don't mean a resource called gems, because gems actually are renewable gold that you can just mine and they give slightly less. For some reason, on some of the levels, I seem to recall the enemy keepers getting glitched OP gold that they could just mine infinitely.
It is payday.
Ah, there we go. So because payday's happened, all my minions are now flying over to my treasury because they want a share of my funds. So you see, they cost a lot more compared to the flies. The flies only took 5, but these beetles took 18. So what's the new spell? Ah, Impus Natun. Hey, I nearly remembered its name. So this is the spell I was on about. You can spam it, and it creates an imp. Ah, that's the proc. So we've now got some goody two-shoes coming down to face us. So I think we'll intercept them. So we'll send the imps up. And the reason why I want them to come into the lair rather than just digging around and going into the waterway is because for the enemy to get to my dungeon heart, which is the only way you can actually lose the game, they will have to go through all of my creatures in the lair. So as you can see, this is a bit of a massacre for those two weak tunnelling dwarves that have just managed to find all my creatures.
Your minions are winning a battle.
Oh, there's also a limit to how many creatures can fight at once. I think it's 4. So that's how come you saw a couple of the creatures like jumping up and down and watching the fight. Which is another reason why flies are bad. Because if you're going to be limited to 4 creatures, you want them to be good creatures. So you pretty much never have flies unless you have to. And I don't think there's ever a reason to have to.
Beware, the Lord of the Land approaches.
Ah, the Lord of the Land.
Your creatures are attacking
So,
the enemy.
what I could do here, so this is a little overview of the fight. So I just lost a fly. What I could do is I can go to my creature list, pick up all my beetles and drop them to fight the Lord of the Land. But I think it'll be more fun just to let the flies die and watch the Lord of the Land go towards his own imminent doom. My imps aren't happy because they want to do the work in this area, but they're scared of the Lord of the Land.
Your creatures are falling in battle.
There isn't really any sort of punishment for creatures dying. So, for instance, they don't lose morale because a comrade dies. So it's a pretty good way to get rid of the creatures that are bad. So I like beetles, so I'm going to save this beetle from dying.
Your minions are winning.
There we go.
You have conquered this realm.
The Lord of this land has been slain. Your work here is done. Now there is no one to prevent you from obliterating this... Oh, I didn't get time to read it. Success, the land is yours. Plus brace to proceed to the next realm. Space. So it gives you a little overview, although, to be honest, the rating system is kind of junky.
To this land like fleas to a rat.
It's pretty hard to decide if it's down to efficiency or just playing it for a very long time. Because most of the time it doesn't penalise you for playing it a long time. So if you stay on the same map for, say, a whole day and just stall and grind the game, you'll get an insanely high rating. Oh, and as you notice, I try to type in Bullfrog as my title, just so that I don't get a list of different ones. But on one of my high scores, I forgot to put the capital B, so now that stands out.
Cositon, a hideous sham of a town, in which the prosperous citizens have no gripes or moans. Sadly, even the children are happy and secure. This is because they aren't punished for non-existent crimes.
How dare they not be punished for their non-existent crimes? Now, I'm not sure why I can see this, but I believe it's because there's a hidden level here. I think there's either 4 or 5 hidden levels throughout the game, and most of them are pretty pointless. So I might try to find them for completion, but if I don't, it's really not a big loss.
Game saved.